The nickname Wonder Boys is 100 years old. The young men who earned, defined, and refined the name came from every corner of Arkansas, from around the United States, and even from around the world. They earned the right to be called Wonder Boys in times of struggle and in times of prosperity. They played for coaches whose names are literally etched on the campus: Brown, Tucker, Heinzmann, Dobson, and others whose names are indelibly listed in the record books: Salmon, Dempsey, Barnes, Harpinaugh, Faulkner, Mullins, and still more who continue to build upon the legacy today: Dawson, Downey, and Ship. For 100 years, Wonder Boys have come to Arkansas Tech to earn an education. They have gone forth and made contributions great and small for the betterment of Arkansas, the nation, and the world. And they have won. From the day a group of farmers from the 2nd District Agricultural School went to Arkadelphia and earned the nickname, until today, the Wonder Boys have won games, championships, and the right to be remembered. Through research of the archives and interviews with those who wore the green and gold, we will remember the achievements of the Wonder Boys and seek to answer a fundamental question: what is a Wonder Boy? 64 conference titles, 44 national postseason berths, 80 All-Americans. These are some of the athletic achievements associated with the nickname Wonder Boys at Arkansas Tech University from 1920 through 2020. Over the past century, it has come to be recognized as one of the most distinctive nicknames in intercollegiate athletics. But what is a Wonder Boy?
I've always believed it was one that was unique, and it was an effort to distinguish the 2nd District School from being the Aggies like everybody else, because they were all agricultural schools. And I think that's where it took off, was popular with the students, and gave Tech a uniqueness, not only in this conference, but probably in the country, being the only Wonder Boys.
A Wonder Boy is a person that never gives up, will fight till the very, very end, will always have the person and their family's back. It is a tough individual, blue collar. That to me is a Wonder Boy. That's what we were when we played. That's what we were made to be as well. And that's what I strive for our team to be as of right now.
There's a reason the Wonder Boys are called the Wonder Boys. And there's a story behind it, and it's a great story.
We got a bulldog now. I think that's wonderful. That's great. You can take a picture of him. You can't very well take a picture of a Wonder Boy, but the history of the Wonder Boys and the story about where it came from, I think is unique.
It means a lot to me, because we are the only Wonder Boys, and I hope that never changes, and I'm proud of that.
A Wonder Boy is someone who has a lot of pride. When they make a commitment, that commitment is going to stand, and they're going to fight for it to the end.
I just have pride. When I walk back in here, I played on that floor. I was a Wonder Boy. Whether you liked it or not, you had to deal with us.
I wear it on my skin.
Most of the pro players with the Rams at that time say, "Where is Arkansas Tech? What is this Wonder Boy thing?" So I don't know that I can say a lot more than that. But I just said I'm going to show them what a Wonder Boy really is.
To me, it is the excellence in being a student athlete and the things that you're doing every day. You think about John Tucker first and foremost, and the excellence that he had in all aspects of his life. And I think of our former great student athletes on my team.
When you hear the word Wonder Boy, you think about above and beyond. You think about hero type. I have to keep up with the name. I have to do more. We have to show more than what just a football team at Arkansas Tech University. We have to do more. our literal nickname are the Wonder Boys. So we have to perform at a level that where it's more than just another team on a field. What you're doing is greater than yourself.
You see us walk out on the field and you watch West Georgia and Delta State and those boys come out there, those guys right down there in green and gold are the Wonder Boys, because they were just absolutely out-athleted, outsized, outmanned, and we beat them all. So to me, that is a Wonder Boy, somebody just an overachiever that comes out of nowhere and, kind of the Cinderella story guy.
And I'm proud to be one. We had golf balls with a little Wonder Boy logo on them. It was so cool. I remember getting those Titleist and seeing that Wonder Boy on there. It's like, man, this is all right. And obviously, you catch a little heat from people, but it's funny how some of those people end up going to Arkansas Tech and being Wonder Boys. So
it was more of a spirit. It's more of something internal. You don't give up. You fight to the very end. You throw the kitchen sink if you have to throw the kitchen sink. You do what you have to. It's that desire to excel, and it's that desire to lead and the desire to win.
You're a part of a family, and those ties and those relationships, they run deep. So I would say that being a Wonder Boy is being a part of a family.
To me, being a Wonder Boy, is everything. I mean, it really is, because it gave and I'd say an average high school athlete the opportunity to play college football. Without sports or that scholarship, I'm not sure I would have even stepped foot on campus. Which means, if you just kind of start domino affecting that, it helped me go on to out in the workforce, being able to secure some good jobs, have a family, and then being able to come back. Had the opportunity to come back and work here. So it means everything to me.
I came here out of the military after playing 3 years of military football and joined the team, but found out quickly that, I had joined a unique group of individuals with diverse backgrounds, but all of them with a desire to be something special, to add to the traditions at Arkansas Tech.
Wonder Boy is a young man who has dreams that exceed public expectation, and who has a passion and a conviction that leaves him no choice to chase down that dream and see it come true.
We don't take anything lightly. We take everything serious. We attack everything. And if you're not going to carry the Wonder Boy name with pride, if you're not going to attack the world, attack, being a father, a husband, if you're not going to attack being an athlete, if you're not going to attack being a student, then don't wear the name Wonder Boy.
And you can wear a cap that says Arkansas Tech Wonder Boys, and people will go, well, what's a Wonder Boy? Well, you're looking at one. I'm a Wonder Boy.
The 2nd District Agricultural School, as Arkansas Tech University was originally known, conducted its first day of class on October 26, 1910. The school fielded its first football team in 1911 and its first baseball team the following spring. Its first basketball team was assembled in 1914. Throughout the 1910s, the teams were known as the Aggies in recognition of the institution's primary academic mission. The arrival of 3 individuals over a period of 3 consecutive years forever transformed the school's athletic program. Hugh Kreitz was elected the 5th president of the 2nd District Agricultural School in 1918. His acumen in farming and public relations made him an immediate hit.
Up in Russellville, the folks are absolutely certain that in Hugh Kreitz, president of the 2nd District Agricultural School, they have positively the greatest man on earth. Someday they're going to build a fence around their town and turn it over in its entirety to him.
A graduate of Mississippi State University, Kreitz recognized the value of a successful athletic program in recruiting students and building relationships with the surrounding community. He set about creating that asset at the 2nd District Agricultural School. He could not have cast a more ideal building block in that endeavor than an 18-year-old student who enrolled at the 2nd District School in 1919. Born in Russellville on April 15, 1901, John Tucker became an active member of the Russellville Aggies football roster with the 1919 season already in progress. By the time the season finale against Jonesboro arrived on November 21st, he was starting at quarterback. The build-up to the game against Jonesboro brought the school and the community together in an unprecedented fashion.
If the Russellville Aggies lose to the Jonesboro Aggies here Friday afternoon, it will not result from lack of support, for the entire town of Russellville is backing the team to win. This fact was manifested last night at a rousing get-together meeting in the City Hall under the auspices of the Russellville Chamber of Commerce. PEP was the slogan, and businessmen and professional men made enthusiastic talks pledging their attendance and support to the home team.
Tucker scored 2 touchdowns and kicked both extra points in a 14-0 victory. The post-game celebration was described in the Arkansas Gazette as the most enthusiastic occasion in the history of Russellville. A parade through the streets of downtown culminated in a bonfire, speeches by team and faculty members, and a reception at the Elks Hall. It was told for multiple generations that the 1919 win over Jonesboro was the inspiration that prompted Arkansas Gazette sports writer Henry Loesch to give the 2nd District Agricultural School team a new nickname. And while there is no doubt that the 14-0 victory was a key turning point in the history of the school's athletic program, Henry Loesch did not cover the game. A reporter named William A. Wilson had the byline in the Arkansas Gazette, and the nickname assigned to the 2nd District Agricultural School team in his article was Aggies. It would be almost exactly 1 year later, and following the addition of one more integral piece of the puzzle, that the Aggies earned their new nickname. Born in the Smoky Mountains of Appalachia, Edgar O. Brown was a World War I-era colonel in the U.S. Army. Following the war, he led Central College of Fayette, Missouri, to an undefeated season in 1919. Taking note of this achievement, President Hugh Kreitz hired Brown and charged him with the task of taking the 2nd District Agricultural School program to the next level.
Brown is the football wizard who has made a contender for the state college championship out of youngsters who are little more than high school material. He has convinced Russellville, at least, that as a football mentor, he is equal to the task of holding his own with the well-known football tutors of the state. By degrees, his team is convincing the rest of the state.
Brown is the one, I think, that really gets the tech program off the ground, and knew how to utilize John Tucker and had some other really good players to go along with Tucker.
Known among his players as E.O. the Silent, Brown led the 1920 2nd District Agri School team to early season blowout wins over the schools now known as Southern Arkansas and Central Arkansas. Brown's Russellville Aggies also played Hendrix and the University of Arkansas freshman team to scoreless ties, giving them a record of 2-0-2 at the close of October. On November 5, 1920, the 2nd District Agricultural School hosted Little Rock College. Henry Loesch of the Arkansas Gazette made the trip west with the Little Rock College team. The Russellville Aggies won the game 14-7, prompting Loesch to describe the 2nd District Agri School as a newcomer apparently destined to become a feared rival in intercollegiate athletics in Arkansas. Loesch was especially impressed with 2nd District School quarterback John Tucker.
Now for the rest of the story that Russellville asked for the introduction of a super player, and for the details of his performance. Russellville knows who we mean. By sections, the rest of Arkansas is being acquainted with him. Fans, friends, and the Ouachita Tigers, if you ever meet the Russellville Farmers, look out for Captain John Tucker. The Husky captain, he weighs a neat 180, did not have a corner on the Russellville Punch, and he did not play the game alone. There are other men in the Aggie backfield who smash with terrible force and who are equal to the role of individual star, but this Tucker is so good that he makes the rest of them look bad. He's so good that it's hard to see anyone else on the entire field.
With those words from Loesch, the statewide legend of John Tucker was born, and the tone was set for the establishment of a new identity for his team. The 2nd District Agricultural School remained undefeated with one game remaining on its 1920 schedule, a contest in Arkadelphia against Henderson Brown College on the afternoon of Tuesday, November 16th. The Arkansas Gazette published 3 articles previewing the game. The first, on November 14, 1920, described the Russellville Aggies as the wonder team of the 1920 football drama in Arkansas. Then, on November 15, 1920, the 2nd District Agricultural School team was referred to as the Wonder Team of the Year. And finally, on November 16, 1920, in the game day preview, the team was referred to as the Wonder Boys of Arkansas football in lowercase. The season-ending clash at Henderson Brown College was a scoreless tie at halftime. The 2nd District School went deep into the playbook during the 3rd quarter for a fake punt executed by Tucker that led to the first score of the day. Glenn Kerr plowed over the goal line from 4 yards out to give the Russellville Aggies a 6-0 lead. Tucker scored on a 20-yard touchdown run early in the 4th quarter and then set the 2nd District School's final margin of victory by making the extra point. The Aggies led 13-0 and went on to a shutout victory. Loesch was in Arkadelphia for the game. The next day, on November 17, 1920, the headline of his article in the Arkansas Gazette used Wonder Boys as a proper noun in reference to the 2nd District Agricultural School football team for the first time ever. The headline read, "Russellville winner in tight game with Reddies. Wonder Boys victory delayed until second half by wonderful defensive work of Henderson Brown players. Score 13-0.
I think, again, it was Henry Lesh at the Gazette said 3 or 4 years ago, none of us knew there was an agricultural school in Russellville. And now everyone knows about it. And that was purely because of the exploits of the Wonder Boys.
Tucker played for the Wonder Boys through the 1924 season and accumulated an insurmountable school record total of 443 career points scored. No other Tech player has ever scored more than 260 career points.
One story that sticks out to me about John Tucker occurred in a game against Henderson Brown when Henderson had been leading the whole game, scored 7-0. Tech scored late in the game to make it 7-6. Tucker was also the place kicker. And apparently the snap was fumbled. Tucker picked up the loose ball, tried to skirt around the right end, but he was cut off by some Henderson defenders. Reverse field, started back to the left, and then suddenly stopped and drop kicked the ball through the uprights for the tying point. There was a future coach at the University of Oklahoma who witnessed that and called it by far the most remarkable thing he'd ever seen on a football field.
From 1920 through 1924, Tucker led the Wonder Boys to a cumulative record of 31-3-5. Their only 3 losses during that span were to the University of Tulsa in 1922, Army in 1923, and Texas A&M in 1924. He came to be known as the original Wonder Boy and would remain closely associated with Arkansas Tech for the remainder of his life. In 1976, Tucker was interviewed by longtime Arkansas Tech play-by-play and public address announcer Tom Kammerling.
We're happy to have all of you with us, and this is a special presentation in Arkansas Tech that we are most proud to have these gentlemen with us. Our guests are Mr. John Tucker, whose fame at Arkansas Tech and called the original Wonder Boy is well known. Coach Ivan Grove, who is from Hendrix College, and closest to me is Coach Duke Wells from Henderson State University at Arkadelphia.
My parents weren't financially able to send me to school. I'd like to have gone, but in those days scholarships were very few and far between. And so I finally enrolled out here at the 2nd District Agricultural School. After they had played games of footballs, one fellow there encouraged me to come out here. So I came out, and I joined the football team, and so I saw we didn't have much of anything, so I encouraged 3 other boys from Russellville High School to come out and start school, and we finally had a pretty good team, and they ended up defeating Jonesboro. We called them Jonesboro then. It was 1st District Agricultural School, which is now Arkansas State University. So that's that. And of course, I continued school out here quite a number of years. Finished high school, and then that was my second diploma from high school. So, but it was an agricultural high school. And then they decided out here that they'd start a college program. And so they started adding a year each year, so I stayed 4 more years after that and got a degree in Bachelor of Science in Agriculture.
And what time period is this as far as years are concerned?
This entire period was 1919 through 1925. So I graduated from this college, we better call it, although it wasn't a college, because I can prove that in just a minute. But I graduated in 1925.
Now, they didn't play exactly where they play now on the Arkansas Tech campus.
No.
It was a little bit different football stadiums.
That's true. The field ran east and west. And what you might remember is the baseball field up there.
That's great. And
the east end of it was the diamond, dirt diamond. And when it rained, that was a sea of mud. And there wasn't much grass on the west end. And it was slightly uphill. I sure did hate to have to go east, uphill. But anyway, that's where we would play.
How about some of the people that were here at that time in those early days when you actually played here at what was to become Arkansas Tech?
Yes, there are not too many of those men living now. G.W. Ham lives up at Harrison. He's quite well known in Arkansas in the beef cattle industry. And several of them are deceased. Locally from here was Clark Reasoner, was a great football player, and Harold Jones, a great football player, and Paul Thompson from Little Rock was a great football player. But most of them are passed away.
Who did the coaching?
Coach E.O. Brown. He was called E.O. the Silent. But he didn't talk real too much, but he was the coach for my last 5 years. First year he got.
Was practice a little bit different? We think about all the tackling dummies and all the expensive equipment that they have for practice. Now, how did you all practice in those days?
Well, we didn't have too many dummies. We had a lot of dummies, but we didn't have any real dummies that you're referring to. And we practiced quite like they do now, various aspects of the game, and blocking and tackling, and well, not as much as they do now. They divide things up now and have a lot of coaches. Coach Brown he had, I don't remember whether he had an assistant or not. I don't believe he did.
How many boys did they have out? A pretty good number, or did you have to go both ways a lot of the time?
Oh, we played both ways all the time unless you was hurt.
And you didn't tell them if you were hurt?
No, not you wanted to play it. We'd have 20, 23, 4, 5. The squads in those days wasn't large. You couldn't afford to take them. Anyway, you played both ways, and so you had 5 or 6 substitutes you could count on, and that was it.
How about offensive schemes in those days, and what position did you play?
Well, I played quarterback, and we used team under Coach Brown, and we shifted into a single wing back. And when we shifted to single wing, I was tailback, you'd call it.
So you carried the mail?
Well, part of the time.
The end of John Tucker's playing career with the Wonder Boys coincided with two other significant changes at the school. First was the departure of Hugh Kreitz as president. Second was a name change. On February 10, 1925, Governor Thomas J. Terrell signed a legislative act renaming the 2nd District Agricultural School Arkansas Polytechnic College. The school has commonly been referred to as Arkansas Tech ever since. E.O. Brown persisted as the Wonder Boys head football coach through the 1932 season. Prominent players during the post-Tucker years included C.B. Foots Clement, who was elected to the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame in 1975. Brown completed his tenure at Arkansas Tech with a cumulative record of 77 wins, 21 losses, and 12 ties. Almost 9 decades after his final game on the Wonder Boys sideline, Brown still ranks top 2 in winning percentage and top 3 in victories among all Arkansas Tech head football coaches. The waning years of Brown's tenure at Tech brought an important and long-lasting change. Arkansas Tech was among the charter members of the Arkansas Intercollegiate Conference, which was founded in the late 1920s and persisted with a largely stable membership for almost 70 years. The Wonder Boys earned their first of 17 AIC football titles in the autumn of 1931. Brown coached Arkansas Tech to a 7-1-2 overall record and a 5-0-2 mark in league play. Captain Ed Clark and the Wonder Boys clinched a share of their first conference championship by defeating the University of the Ozarks 37-0 on November 23, 1931. Arkansas Tech finished second in the AIC the following season, Brown's final at the school. His successor was more than a familiar face. He was the original Wonder Boy. John Tucker first joined the faculty at Arkansas Tech in 1925. He served as an assistant coach under E.O. Brown before taking a leave of absence to pursue further study at the University of Alabama. Well, maybe there was a little more to it than that. Tucker, living in an era when college athletic eligibility was very different, also joined the Crimson Tide football team upon his enrollment at Alabama.
Someone who had seen him play or heard of him, who was doing coaching in Alabama, came to recruit him for Alabama. And he was, I believe, 28 years old at the time. And Tucker said, well, how would I possibly be eligible? And the guy said, let me take care of that.
As part of the famed For John's backfield, Tucker helped head coach Wallace Wade and the Crimson Tide win the 1930 Southern Conference Championship, a share of the 1930 National Championship, and the 1931 Rose Bowl. The captain of that Alabama team was another former Wonder Boy, C.B. Foots Clement. Tucker's final known playing appearance came when he appeared in a series of charity exhibitions featuring former members of the Alabama Crimson Tide. The Alabama All-Star alumni faced George Washington University, Catholic University, and Georgetown University for a jamboree of abbreviated games, all of which were played on December 12, 1932 at Griffith Stadium in Washington, D.C. Less than a year later, Tucker was back in his hometown of Russellville and beginning his first season as head football coach at Arkansas Tech. By his third season, the Wonder Boys were conference champions once more. The 1935 Arkansas Tech team finished 8-0-1 overall and 6-0-1 in the AIC. The roster included Nathan Gordon, who would go on to earn the Congressional Medal of Honor during World War II and later served as Lieutenant Governor of Arkansas. One of Gordon's teammates, Raymond Rabbit Burnett, was just beginning his many contributions to the Arkansas Tech trophy case. The 1935 Wonder Boys outscored their first 8 opponents 192-13 before playing the University of the Ozarks to a scoreless tie in the season finale. The next 3 AIC titles went to the reviled pedagogues from Arkansas State Teachers College in Conway, but by 1939, Furman Bynum had had enough. The hard-charging and even harder-nosed tackle blocked and tackled his way to becoming Arkansas Tech's first All-American that autumn. One of the men he blocked for was a right halfback named Marvin Salmon, but most people just called him Shorty. Bynum's play, coupled with the punting of a freshman from Dumas named Aubrey Fowler, helped the Wonder Boys battle ASTC to a scoreless tie on Thanksgiving 1939. As a result, Arkansas Tech celebrated an AIC title alongside its turkey and dressing. The Wonder Boys finished top 3 in the conference in each of the next 2 years. 3 weeks following the final game of the 1941 season, word arrived in Russellville that Pearl Harbor had been bombed. World War II wiped out the 1942, 1943, and 1944 seasons. The vast majority of the male student population at Arkansas Tech joined the service of the nation. When the job of helping eliminate the greatest evil the world had ever seen was complete, the Wonder Boys returned home and applied that same toughness and strength to establish the longest and most dominant era of sustained excellence in Arkansas Tech football history. 48 young men, some of whom had recently completed service in World War II, and some of whom would soon be engaged in the Korean War, assembled on the Arkansas Tech campus for the beginning of football practice in the fall of 1945. Under the leadership of the original Wonder Boy, head coach John Tucker, they prepared for the first Arkansas Tech football season in 4 years. There was little question as to the identity of their on-field leader. Robert Aubrey Cobb Fowler was born the same year that Tucker and his Arkansas Tech teammates first earned the Wonder Boys nickname. Fowler starred in football and track at Tech before World War II, and he was among the 104 Arkansas Tech male students called into the service of their country when the 206th Coast Artillery of the Arkansas National Guard was mobilized in January 1941. His active duty took him to Fort Lewis, Washington, Alaska, and Europe. Following World War II, Fowler returned to the Wonder Boys football team and set about the task of reestablishing Tech as the top program in the Arkansas Intercollegiate Conference. Arkansas Tech did more than win the AIC championship in 1945. Over a span of 57 days, the Wonder Boys defeated 8 opponents by a cumulative score of 311-6. There was only one occasion upon which they were even moderately challenged. The only points they allowed were in the closing moments of a blowout win. Vagaries of different eras make it impossible to identify the best team in Arkansas Tech football history. There is no question, however, as to which group of Wonder Boys set the widest gulf between themselves and their competition. Fowler scored a total of 102 points during the 1945 season. Depending upon which account of the day one reads, he led at least the southwest region of the country and perhaps all of college football in scoring that season. Fowler was inducted into the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame in 1982. The 1945 Wonder Boys established a golden age of Arkansas Tech football that would continue almost unabated for a quarter century. The AIC championship they won was the beginning of 5 consecutive AIC titles for Arkansas Tech, which would go on to win 13 league football championships from 1945 through 1971. But it was the manner in which they did it that separates the 1945 Wonder Boys in the history of Arkansas Tech football, and it was the extent to which they left their opponents hopelessly defeated that inspired the Associated Press to sum up their achievements thusly. Tech's domination of the football picture was the widest possible. Coach John Tucker took a handful of veterans, molded them with a sprinkling of high school talent, and the upshot was an undefeated, untied season. From the time that Arkansas Tech first fielded a football team in 1911 through the conclusion of the 1946-47 academic year, no other sport on campus could match what happened on the gridiron when it came to success or interest. Arkansas Tech became a very different place after World War II. Enrollment grew at such a rapid rate that trailers were brought in to house veterans attending Tech on the GI Bill. Meanwhile, Alfred J. Craybaugh, academic dean of the college, was busy preparing Arkansas Tech to transition from two-year college to an accredited four-year institution of higher learning. As such, curriculum needed to be improved and programs diversified. One such program was physical education. Upon seeking the right individual to develop an appropriate academic program in that discipline, Craybaugh and President J.W. Hull identified a faculty member and coach from rival Arkansas State Teachers College as the right man for the job. And while it is true the individual they selected developed a rigorous course of study in physical education that persists to this day at Arkansas Tech, it was his success in another area that made him a Wonder Boys legend. Samuel Felix Heinzmann Jr. was born in Itta, Mississippi on October 31st, 1917. He graduated from Lee High School in nearby Columbus, Mississippi, and Sunflower Junior College before enrolling at Memphis State. There, Heinzmann was captain of the football and basketball teams and earned a Bachelor of Science degree. He then followed in the footsteps of John Tucker at the University of Alabama. Heinzmann received a Master of Arts degree in Tuscaloosa and completed additional postgraduate study at George Peabody College in Nashville, Tennessee. Heinzmann began his career teaching and coaching in Arkansas schools in the communities of Treadwell, Dermott, and North Little Rock. He served as an Army Air Force aviation cadet instructor at Pine Bluff from 1942 to 44, and once the war was complete, he became the basketball coach at Arkansas State Teachers College in Conway. He guided the Bears to a cumulative record of 29-13 with 2 AIC championships. When Heinzmann made the decision to move from teachers to Tech, he left behind a program with 10 all-time conference championships to join one that had never lifted an AIC trophy.
I don't think most people were as interested in the fact he was going to be the basketball coach as he was going to be an assistant football coach, because football was the sport, basketball was an afterthought. Sam Heinzmann was going to change all that.
Arkansas Tech put a basketball team on the court for the first time in 1914. Over the course of 24 basketball seasons before Heinzmann's arrival, Tech finished with an overall record above the 500 mark just 11 times. After Heinzmann's arrival, everything changed. By year 2 of the Heinzmann era, Arkansas Tech was AIC basketball champion for the first time. It was the beginning of 7 consecutive AIC championships for Arkansas Tech, which won 112 of 118 contests against conference foes during its 7-year reign. In 1949-50, the Wonder Boys won 20 games in a season for the first time ever and made the first of 9 NAIA national tournament appearances under Heinzmann's guidance. Tech was 18-0 in league play during that 1949-50 season, the first of 5 seasons with undefeated AIC records for Heinzmann's Wonder Boys. Heinzmann's first star player at Arkansas Tech was a lanky center who grew up more than 200 miles south of campus. Deward Swish Dobson was working in the oil fields near his native Strong when Heinzmann came calling. Dobson's inclination was to stay home and work for $1.50 per hour. His mother had another idea, according to a passage from Dr. Thomas A. DeBlack's A Century Forward, the Centennial History of Arkansas Tech University.
Heinzmann had been recruiting in South Arkansas, not only basketball players, but football players, since he was coaching both sports. And he stopped by Strong to offer Dobson a scholarship to play basketball at Arkansas Tech. Then he went on to cross it to look at some football players and said he'd be back the next day. But Dobson decided he would stay in Strong and work in the oil fields. So when he came home, his mother told him, "I've got your clothes in a box on the porch, and when that man comes back, you're going with him." And he did. And Dobson later said it changed his life.
Similar Heinzmann recruiting victories played out in other rural Arkansas communities, many in the small mountain towns to the north of Russellville. Dobson was joined by fellow All-AIC performers Tom Massey, Raymond Tabor, Gene Wallach, and Billy Burt Baker. Together, they and their teammates established the Stroop Gymnasium Mystique, a subsequent wave that included All-Americans E.C. O'Neill and Donovan Horn, as well as All-AIC selections Danny Ruff, James Ralph Hudspeth, Paul Ray Martin, Don Sevier, and Willard Smith elevated Tech basketball to national prominence. By the time the 1954-55 season was complete, Arkansas Tech owned 7 consecutive AIC titles, 6 NAIA national tournament berths, and trips to the semifinals of the national tournament in 1954 and 1955. The Wonder Boys' record at home during those 7 years was 79-3. The man who helped start it all, Deward Dobson, was asked about his coach during a 2004 interview. Dobson said, "It was one of those times when we had a group together with the right leadership, and it produced the start of a dynasty that lasted for many years. If anyone wanted to play basketball and win while playing it the right way, they came to Tech. Our style of play made it exciting, and the aggressive, quick, and passionate manner that our players performed in made the spectators want to get involved. For a bunch of small-town country boys like us, it was quite an experience to have that kind of excitement." That excitement was too much to be confined to just one sport. Heinzmann's knack for recruiting, teaching, and motivating young men also contributed to the Wonder Boys' football glory days. Raymond Rabbit Burnett inherited the reins of the Arkansas Tech football program from John Tucker in 1948. Burnett coached the Wonder Boys to consecutive AIC titles in his first 2 seasons as head coach and a 7-win season in 1950, but 3 consecutive losing seasons followed. It came to pass in 1954 that Sam Heinzmann added the duties of head football coach to his considerable workload at Arkansas Tech. Heinzmann immediately proved equal to the task by guiding the Wonder Boys to an 8-1 record and an AIC championship during his first season, which was highlighted by the play of 3-time All-Conference selection Sammy May and All-America lineman Don Dempsey. Other All-AIC football players during the Heinzmann era included Bill Chisholm, Billie Jean Davis, Johnny Nutt, Don Sevier, Bobby Hannon, Winky May, Robert Norman, Joe Reese, Gene Boyle, Larry Reed, Isaac Witt, Bill Rainey, Roger Lee, Powell McClellan, Dalton Andrews, and Johnny King. But Heinzmann's greatest recruiting victory during his football coaching career was convincing a young man from Russellville to stay close to home and attend Arkansas Tech. His name was Eddie Meador. During his 4 years at Arkansas Tech, Eddie Meador established a record of excellence that has stood the test of time. His 95-yard touchdown run against the University of the Ozarks on September 27, 1958, remains the longest run from scrimmage in Arkansas Tech history. 3 weeks later, Meador rushed for 239 yards against Hendrix College. It was, at the time, the most rushing yards ever recorded by a Wonder Boy in a single game, and it remains top 4 in that category all time. Meador is one of just 3 Wonder Boys to record multiple 1,000-yard rushing seasons. He was the first to achieve that feat. In all, Meador rushed for 3,410 career yards, which stood for more than a decade as the school record and remains one of the 3 highest career rushing totals in Tech history. Meador scored 43 rushing touchdowns as a Wonder Boy. Only John Tucker has more. Meador scored 260 career points. Again, only John Tucker has more. One of the men who blocked for Meador was all-conference lineman Robert Norman. Meador's play helped the Wonder Boys earn their first 2 postseason football berths, with appearances in the Rice Bowl at Stuttgart in 1957 and 1958. Arkansas Tech clinched a share of the AIC championship in 1958 by defeating Ouachita Baptist 52-10 on November 15th in Meador's final conference game. Following his senior season, Meador became the first Arkansas Tech player voted to the Associated Press Little All-America team. Only 2 more Wonder Boys achieved that distinction in the 40 years to follow.
I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll show those old big boys at A&M and Tulsa, and consequently, things worked out quite well for me, and I just enjoyed, being a small college and everything. Still, it was quite an honor for me to be able to have a scholarship and get my education at Arkansas Tech.
It was all enough to capture the attention of the Los Angeles Rams of the National Football League. They drafted Meador with the 80th pick in the 1959 NFL Draft. He immediately earned a spot as a starting defensive back. Over the next 12 years, Meador appeared in 163 games, made 160 starts, was selected to the Pro Bowl 6 times, and was voted first-team All-Pro on 2 occasions. Meador completed his career with 46 interceptions, most in Rams franchise history, and 5 career interception returns for a touchdown, tied for most in Rams franchise history. The Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame recognized Meador's achievements by selecting him as a member in 1978. Eddie Meador is, without question, the most successful professional athlete ever produced by Arkansas Tech. He remains a candidate for induction into the Professional Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Arkansas Tech fielded its first baseball team in the spring of 1912 and won its first AIC baseball championship in 1933, but the sport failed to gain consistent traction on campus until after World War II. The Wonder Boys won the AIC baseball title in 1950 under the leadership of head coach Raymond Burnett. Arkansas Tech returned to the top of the AIC baseball standings under head coach Don Dempsey in 1964 and under head coach Robert Pledger in 1976. Pledger's championship team was led by Tommy Hester. He completed his 2-year career in the green and gold with a career batting average of .458, highest in Wonder Boys history. Hester was Arkansas Tech's first All-America baseball player. Jim Franks became the first Wonder Boys baseball coach to win multiple conference titles when he steered Arkansas Tech to the top of the AIC in 1981 and 1985. The Wonder Boys found championship success in a number of other sports. Arkansas Tech won AIC crowns in track and field in 1933, 1934, and 1939. Sam Heinzmann augmented his already considerable legacy on campus by leading the Wonder Boys to AIC bowling titles in 1963 and 1964. Arkansas Tech captured the AIC championship in men's cross country in 1969 under the direction of Coach John Montgomery. But in the sphere beyond football and basketball, no group of Wonder Boys has made more contributions to the university trophy case than the Arkansas Tech men's golf program. Beginning in 1966, the Wonder Boys won 5 consecutive Arkansas Intercollegiate Conference championships. Major contributors during the early days of the Arkansas Tech golf program included a trio of 3-time All-Conference selections: Richard Mitchell, Wynn Norwood, and Lou Hardin. Arkansas Tech won its 6th AIC golf title in 1984, and from 1983 through 1995, the Wonder Boys golf program finished top 3 in the AIC every year. Arkansas Tech's golf achievements of the mid to late 1960s were especially significant because they marked the final championships won by the man who started it all, John Tucker. The original Wonder Boy went out a winner, coaching Arkansas Tech to 3 consecutive AIC golf titles before his retirement from coaching at the conclusion of the 1968 season. A member of the first class inducted into the Arkansas Tech Hall of Distinction and the first person with ties to Arkansas Tech inducted into the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame, Tucker retired from his other duties at Arkansas Tech in 1972, lived to see Tucker Coliseum named in his honor, and passed away on February 20th, 1983, at the age of 81.
You know, when I came to school at Tech, the original Wonder Boy is still walking the campus. I mean, you could cross paths with him every time you would go to the Union, and he was at all the pep rallies and ball games, and I mean, you knew who Coach was, and you knew the story about the Wonder Boys.
If he said something, he meant it, and you better pay attention to him. And so I had a lot of respect for that man, and it was just great to be associated with him in sports at Arkansas Tech.
When you were going across campus and you saw him coming, that's all you'd say. Hi, Coach. How you doing? You know, I didn't have a conversation with him anyway. You know, he was bigger than life. He was Tech, as far as I was concerned. And when he kind of came in the room, everything stopped. And when you heard him, you know, you started paying attention.
There was a man named John Tucker, and he was a professor here at the school. I knew him, met him, talked with him, was inspired by him. You know, here is the original Wonder Boy, okay, and he's talking to me and he says, you know, you're pretty good. He said, but you need to keep your head in it. Oh, and he was right. But he made a difference, and it was all inspiring for me to try to be the best that I could be, to be most successful as I could be, to try to dominate and be that person. And I knew the original Wonder Boy, and you know, I could shine in his eyes, I was going to shine in mine. So
I fortunately, because of my situation, saw 2 sides of John Tucker. Coach Tucker's first wife was my aunt. It was my dad's sister, younger sister. And my dad even played with Coach Tucker in high school. And of course, I was too young to know any of this. In fact, Coach Tucker's first wife, her name was Willie. She died, I wasn't even 5 years old. But so for a short period of time, I had an indirect relationship to him. But he never had children. I think he was married 3 times. He outlived all of his wives, every one of them. He always, you saw the gruff side of him because he must have been a hell of a tough athlete. A side that I got to see, he had no children. And my mother had multiple sclerosis when I was 6 years old. And my dad died when I was 7. And Coach Tucker would come check on my mom and me and see how we were doing. And we lived about 2 blocks away from him. So I got to see a different side of him, a side that was caring, a side that he made sure my mom, if she needed anything, he took care of it, things like that. And when I got engaged to be married, he gave my mother the wedding ring that his first marriage to Aunt Willie, he gave it to Mom to give to me as a deal. So that was a very touching thing to me. And everybody reads, and if you did have the privilege to know him, you were scared to death of him. Not only was he a great athlete, great person, he was a real smart individual. He taught chemistry at Arkansas Tech. I mean, he was a brilliant man, and he was just unbelievable. He was the Wonder Boy. He was in every facet.